You get to put your hand in my dough.
Oh.
And pick a topic.
Okay.
And open it up. And read it for us.
What is an experience that has changed your life?
Girl, well, we got the answer to that already.
Having vitiligo, of course.
The journey, the experience, the hub.
I've always been an advocate for men because I felt like women always have or had safe spaces. And it's listening to people's lived experiences, you realize that not everybody often has a safe space. And I want to say it was sexist of me to be under the impression that women, we could. Everybody have. You all have this safe place. Why am I concerned about you all? Why am I looking to find out what's happening? Everything should be all right. So I think at this moment I should say that was a little sexist of me. I could admit to that. And then we are in March, which is International Women's Month. So I decided I wanted to do this particular segment for varying of reasons. One being, I'm under the impression that so many of us struggle, but we don't open our mouths to talk about it. We live in fear of judgment. We live in fear as being deemed as a coward. We live in fear as being deemed, well, you could just get up and go. Why is you still there? We're holding you on to that. And the reality is there are so many women who look like me, who look like you, who have children, who are wives, who are girlfriends, who are daughters, who are mothers, and are in positions where they themselves are asking, what is happening to me, with me, for me? Is it because of me? And I was like, I am going to dig in to this. And then you appeared in my studio and I was like, I don't have much work to do. I just need to turn on the camera, put you in front of the camera, and then we take it from there. Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day.
You hear how I said? No, that's why I said it wrong. What I said, Happy International Women's Day.
That's a blooper.
So that's a blooper. So happy International Women's Day, Women's Month.
Yes, Women's Month.
Women's Year, if you ask me.
Yes.
So tell everybody who you are.
All right, so hi everyone, my name is Akenna Kublal, and I'm happy to be on the hub today. Like Tameeka said, we met, well, we've known each other for a while, but we reconnected, was it last month?
I believe, yes, that's correct.
At I-95 Studios when I came in to do an interview with some other woman, and she was there running the board.
And I was baffled with her story. I just want to tell you all that.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that we could have this conversation. Even though I feel like we wouldn't be able to get everything in this time, at least it could be a start. And I think it would be a nice conversation.
When we say International Women's Day, Women's Month, what do you think the general public is referring to?
I think the public, or globally, they're referring to a time dedicated towards recognizing and honoring women and our efforts, or the fact that in spite of the efforts, women still have to, work twice as hard to be recognized, work twice as hard to be heard, and sometimes still told that you should hush your mouth, things like that.
You're too loud.
Yeah, I feel
that's not your place.
Exactly.
That's not for you.
Exactly. I heard somebody say, why only International Women's Month? Why don't have much buzz around International Men's Month? And it does, I think.
I think it's now growing.
Yeah, I think it's now growing. But I also think that people fail to realize that we needed to have International Women's Month because women didn't always have an ordinary space.
The right to vote, the right to drive. These are things that if we look back in the history of time, women were denied.
I learned that it's probably about 100 years now, but not very long ago. It was less than 100 years since a woman could have a bank account by themselves.
Look at that.
So there are somebody, great-great-grandmother somewhere that didn't even have a bank account.
But whoever fought for it, we say thank you.
We say thank you.
Because
Amen.
it's really important to be able to tap that card and it's yours and you do as you want.
You fought a good fight, all right? But yeah, and as a mother to girls too, I feel a great sense of responsibility, I think, during these type of times to just speak up more than I already do.
Yeah.
Because I don't want them to have to fight the battles that I did.
I firmly believe I share the same sentiment when it comes to my daughter.
Yeah.
So we're going to go back a bit into why we are here, but more importantly, how we ended up here.
Yeah.
So you have an autoimmune disease. I know it's probably, you said this, you went viral. You spoke about some people not being receptive of seeing you.
That was probably the most recent thing that happened. I think that had to now it's probably maybe about 70,000 views.
Yep.
It's crazy. People all around the world reached out to me to tell me about things that they've experienced. This one lady, she reached out to me to tell me that she showed her daughter it because her daughter has vitiligo and she doesn't like to go to school because the children would tease her. And I was like, oh my God, my heart, I can't imagine. But so I have an autoimmune condition called vitiligo. People are always very intrigued and like, wow, when I tell them I didn't always have it.
That was me, guys. I'm like, okay, so you were born with this?
No.
So, no.
I wasn't.
So, how you got this? You all hear the reason. Just hold a little longer.
Yeah. So I was not always born with, I wasn't born with vitiligo. I didn't always have it. Nobody that I know of close in the family has it. So if I track back my mother, grandparents, from their knowledge, great-grandparents don't have it. So probably somewhere far down the line, the gene might be there. But a lot of people don't know that vitiligo is an autoimmune condition that is often triggered by stress.
Say that just one more time.
Vitiligo, like many other autoimmune conditions, is an autoimmune condition that's triggered by stress, primarily by stress. So what happens is your body has, we know melanin, the popular term melanin, right? So that's what makes you darker hues. So your body has melanin, and what happens is when you go through a lot of stress, your body sometimes doesn't know how to switch off the fight button. So fight or flight always happening, and your body now starts to attack itself because it's like, wait, something always happening, this, and your body now doesn't know how to come down to here. So it always up, always stressed, and your body starts to attack itself. The healthy cells starts to attack. So with me, the melanin now started to attack itself, and it's almost as though the melanin sees itself as foreign. So that's how you end up losing the melanin.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that Michael Jackson had vitiligo.
Yeah.
And it was only years later it started to come out that that's what he had. But before, remember, people used to tell Michael Jackson that he was bleaching.
Yeah, he was bleaching.
Yeah. And if you look back at his family history too, he went through a lot of stress. If you don't know, when you look at the movie with
the
his
upbringing,
family,
the father pushing them so much to make sure they make it in this musical industry.
Exactly. So getting vitiligo was really something that, apart from dealing with it and all of that, it changed my mindset a lot to just researching more about stress and how it impacts women. I'm not a doctor, but I'm an advocate.
Yeah.
And I learned that women are primarily susceptible to autoimmune conditions because we are the major stressors in the household. We're the mother, the wife, this one running, you maintaining the schedules, you're doing this, you're doing that. And a lot of women, when you hear they develop things like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis.
I just learned also that cervical cancer, one of the main contributing factors to cervical cancer, and this is why many a times the stressed women get their regular pap smears, it is stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your body, there's this book called Your Body Keeps the Score. And it's about that. Your body holds trauma and stress in different places. And for me, I think things that I had gone through in my life within a couple of years leading up to the time of the vitiligo just developing really led to it finally.
So you just started to see these white spots
tiny little white spots
Coming
almost
out on
like
your skin.
Yeah, like almost like I thought honestly that maybe because I was in the kitchen,
You got burns.
I thought maybe oil splash up on me
Yes.
and eventually it will fade away. And then I start seeing more, and then I started seeing it appearing around the tips of my fingers more. And I was like, this is not looking like it going away. So I went to a dermatologist. And in the early stages, they tend to prescribe creams because sometimes it helps. For me, it didn't. So the doctor said, yes, it is vitiligo. She asked me if I knew what it was, and I was like, not really. So I started, you're going on Google and you're researching.
Everybody's university, everybody's doctor.
Right. And yeah, I just started researching and looking up just how to deal with it. It was tough. This was probably about 7 years ago. So it's not that long that I've had it. If you think about years, 7, 8 years ago, it's not really that long. And yeah, that's how it started to progress.
We're gonna journey back, and we're gonna journey through your stressors, right? Because I think women have been built to believe that they are equipped to do everything. And the more we can prove we can do everything, the more of a woman we may be, or we may feel we are. So I could do school, and I could do work, and I could do the children, and I could do my husband, and I could do the extracurricular activities. But internally, something is happening with the body. If we think about cancer also, cancer itself, it's these cells forming a tumor, and stress happens to be one of the key contributing factors as to why these cells don't die or wither away, and they begin to form these masses in our bodies. Stress is really that important of a discussion. It's that key of a contributing factor to many of the illnesses that both men and women experience. Let's talk about life before the disease.
So I'm not 40 yet, almost there, almost a couple of years away. But from a very young age, I was always very, very ambitious. So I too am from Arima, born and grown. And I grew up in a regular household. I don't think it was like, anything drama filled. Regular childhood, etc. But I always had goals, and I always knew I wanted to do this. I wanted to this by this time. I want to do that. So I was always very focused. And coming to my older years, I started to be very involved with my family in like church and that whole Christian lifestyle and that kind of thing. And somewhere along that line, I got into a really tumultuous relationship very early in my life. So before 20. And it was I would say
I love how you're taking your time to choose your words very wisely.
I would say it was very, how I could say, it was interesting. I have a teenager now, so we talk a lot about the impact on how your life could either be made or derailed by the persons and the relationships that you choose at a young stage in life. And for me, I felt like that relationship, do I have my kids today and things like that, it was a choice that I should not have made. But anyhow, we learned from it, and I'm here today. So that relationship was really, really tumultuous from the start. A lot of abuse, a lot of, physical as well. So the physical abuse, the verbal abuse, all the things that I talked about on the radio show. Everything. So from kicking, choking, this, that, the full 9 yards, right?
I feel like I want to just take a sip on this, right?
But disclaimer, like I saw a clip this morning from Diary of a Mad Black Woman when Helen was like, old Helen is gone. Trust and believe old Akenna is gone. Right? So anybody watching this right now getting any ideas? Old Akenna is gone. Christina is no longer here too. Right? But anyway, so like that I think, and my faith and all of that, had a lot to do with it, because like you said earlier on, as a woman, you're taught to kind of like play the role and do everything a certain way, and then you will get to that place. And that is even more amplified in places of faith. I can speak for Christian, but I'm sure in Muslim, you hear stories of Muslim women, Hindu women, things like that. So as a Christian woman or a woman being in that whole circle of things, it's almost as though you are programmed that even if a relationship is tough from the start,
you stick it out.
You stick it out, even if you're not married yet, because you're in it. And then I got pregnant as well, but my first daughter very young, for that same person. So I was conditioned to stay, work it out, because y'all are a nice couple, you have nice jobs, you're so ambitious, you all look the part. And me still wanting to achieve the things that I wanted to, I didn't stop because I had a daughter young. So I went on to work for a major airline and travel as a flight attendant. I did that for 10 years and all of that. So I was doing all the things on paper, career-wise, that looked good. I pull in my suitcase in the airport and smiling, hi, good morning, can I offer you coffee and tea? People don't know when I go home, I'm unhappy. So on paper, I was the perfect wife, the perfect mother, the perfect everything, but inside, my body was holding all of things, because I wasn't a big talker too. I was very quiet.
Now remember, her then and her now is two different things.
Yes, remember that. Thank God for therapy.
Yes.
But yeah, so my body, I guess, basically just told me, Akenna, you see this nonsense?
It's not happening.
Stop it. And when I started to see vitiligo, people always ask me, what was your breaking point for leaving that relationship? Because it went on to marriage and everything. I talk about all of that in my book, so if people want to, they can buy the book.
Yes. The labor of love.
Yes, so it went on. I got married and we had another child and all of that. And people always ask me, what was the breaking point for me to leave?
But before that, I want to ask, from your experience, what makes a woman stay?
Well, I can't say for everybody, but for me, what made me stay was the hope of change, and that was embedded because of my faith. For people that, and I still believe in God, I'm still a believer, I still, think, but my mindset has changed completely as it pertains to religion, and the whole system of how it's kind of unfair to a lot of women. You know, Christian women are often told, you stick it out and you pray about it. There's a movie, what's the name of it? War Room, where the husband was all over the place doing all kind of thing. And the woman home staying in a closet praying for this man to not go out with the next woman. And in theory, when you look at the movie, you have real passion. You're like, wait, boy, yes, I need to do this fast. I need to anoint the shoes. I need to pray over him when he's sleeping. This and that. Those things are good to do, but in reality, no human being should be responsible for changing the behaviors of another person.
Yeah, because the only person you are able to govern is yourself.
Is you. So for me, what made me, and I think a lot of Christian women or women of faith, or I would even go to say good women, because there's this conversation about we're only good women or whatever. The good women there, but they're tired because they stay for the wrong people.
Listen, friend. I saw
the cameraman shaking his head.
He has to. I saw this particular reel on TikTok, and the woman is saying, I don't cook, I don't clean, I don't take care of a man, so don't come at me expecting these things. I've done it before and I was hurt. I don't intend to do it again. And I'm like, are we a bunch of women who hurt has really built us to be another human being? So are we living yet another life in this one life?
Could be. But again, is to survive, because what do you do after you've been through so much trauma in your youth as a woman? You're not going to just... If we look at a lot of our older,
our mothers and our grandmothers and our aunts,
the generations before, it's either two things. It's either one, they left and they probably didn't, get with anybody else again. Or for a lot of them, they were able to have the perfect families.
But it wasn't perfect.
Because they stayed.
Yeah, and I think if we are being realistic, most of our mothers and grandmothers and aunts, they stayed.
Yeah.
They stayed, and their thing is, well, I live in any house, I get any pension, and they want to match quantity with quality. So we do this for 50-something years. How was the quality of the 50-something years? Mommy, you lived? Granny, you lived? Auntie, were you free to be who you wanted to be?
Yeah.
And I think now we are a generation of women where we are asking these questions.
And we're saying, no, I'm not going to stay for stuff. I could leave and acquire the same stuff too. And it's not that you're bitter or you're anti-man, or you don't want to have love. Of course you do. But you're not willing to trade your sanity for it.
That is, I tell you, I'm sitting here and I'm like, there are so many women out there who are trying to make sense or wrap their hands around an physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually draining relationship. Yeah. And I think we doing this is just a reassurance to them that you are not alone.
No.
And then with your situation now, I think it's an idea that may have never popped in your mind. This could be you if you don't declutter, de-stress.
It's funny. A friend told me, he said, you know what, it is Akenna. He said, you used to be hiding too much.
Yeah.
He was like, you used to be hiding too much, and I believe God allowed this to happen to you.
So everybody will know.
Everybody could see me.
That is a beautiful way.
Yeah.
They say there's always beauty in the mess.
Yeah.
As an artist, as a creative, it may look messy to others, but your eye allows you to see the beauty in the mess. Yeah. That's a beautiful way to put it. For me now, it's like you stayed because you hope things would change.
Of course, yeah.
What made you leave?
I feel like if I say that, it might seem so petty.
No.
So I would have, apart from the vitiligo, I also went through, so I think it was a factor of those two things combined that made my vitiligo progress. So remember I mentioned about flying. So I was in that career for 10 years.
Yeah.
And one day I got a call to go to do an extra flight. And I said yes, went up, and on the way back, I got an injury on board. So we had some turbulence and I hit my knee. And that started a whole ripple effect of chaos. A minor injury, knee injury, turned into me having to do 2 surgeries. A whole bunch of things, years of physical therapy. It was just a mess. And the vitiligo was also progressing. Well, it started around that same time too of me being on injury leave. And during the pandemic, schools were closed, children were home and everything. And I was like...
So this is just 5 years ago?
Yeah. I left that industry in 2021. And so kids were home from school and everything.
Everybody's life is readjusting.
Home and all of that. And it was getting time for me to decide if I wanted to go back out to work or if I want to, whatever, take whatever and stay home. And I remember telling him that I feel I don't want to go back to work, I'm tired physically, emotionally, I'm tired because of course I deal with all the stuff behind the scenes in family life, the physical stuff, the cheating, the verbal, like years and years of almost spanning 20 years of stuff.
That is a lot,
Compiled with the knee injury, compiled with COVID.
Compiled with the children.
Yeah. And I remember telling the person that my ex-husband, that I wanted to just leave. I just need some time to just catch myself because I feel like I can't go anymore. Like on my final breath. And he was like, well, if you leave, just don't know that I don't support that decision. And it wasn't like a violent conversation or anything, but that was, for me, that sealed it for me, with no argument, no nothing. It was like something just snapped in my brain that said, Akenna, no matter what you do, you will be the person that's always the giver. And I don't know, something just like, you know, in those movies, sometimes when you, in a second, they might do like a whole rewind and a recap of everything that happened.
Yeah.
And then after they wake up and you're like, oh, wait. I swear, like, that happened to me. I was like, so what the hell? I've wasted almost 20-something years of my life trying to fix this person, trying to live the perfect life and all these things. And here, the one time I asked for something, which is just maybe for a couple months, let me catch my breath.
Take care of me.
Yeah, you're like, no.
Just take care of me. So you packed and you left.
Yeah, and I think part that made it easier too, during that time I was in therapy. So I had started therapy through work, the EAP thing, because of the knee. So they provided therapy to deal with that, of not being flying for that long, being out of job. And in therapy, all of this stuff came up that I was keeping in for all those years, because I wasn't really telling anybody things that we were going through outside of church support. So like pastors and
that
stuff
really
like that.
wasn't support.
That wasn't
if we want to be honest.
It's true, because their support was always pro-stay. Their support was always work it out. Their support was always, all you have a call on all your life to do so many things. This is things that you're going through to become, you know, this, that. So that support was, I'm not going to lie, bias. Well, not unbiased. Was it term?
No, it's bias.
It's very biased support,
it has to be bias support.
So while I was in therapy to deal with the knee, obviously,
you end up dealing with yourself,
which I didn't go in to talk about. I went in to talk about this, and obviously things started to come up. And I remember that the therapist, she said to me, Akenna, you would know when you're ready to leave that relationship, when you are ready to pick up whatever it is you have and just leave.
I'm listening to you talking, and it takes me back to my grandmother says, a woman leaves a relationship before she leaves a relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, woman, if you know us and we know us, we really do leave dynamics before we physically leave dynamics.
Not even relationships alone, jobs and things.
Yeah,
too. Sometimes
yeah, we
like,
detach. That's correct. So I feel like you already detached from that relationship, and that was just the further flick you needed.
Any little thing that was holding me, maybe the kids, this and that.
It didn't.
Yeah. And then after leaving, post leaving, I remember having a conversation with my daughters, you know, about, oh, you know, start thinking I had to prepare them. And they were like, Mommy, I don't know what's taking you so long.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So I think too, a lot of women, especially, again, going back to the conversation of the women before us, and I feel like that's probably the essence of this conversation. Not mistakes, but choices that the older generation made versus choices that we're making, so that the younger generation won't have to make those choices.
Yes.
And my talking to my daughters, they were like, Mommy, I don't know what's going on with you. What taking you so long? What took you so long? And I'm thinking,
how did you feel in that moment?
To this day, I still feel, because they still like will pull my leg and we talk about like, Mommy, when I share stories, because they're much older now.
Yeah.
So sometimes we share certain stories and thing. I might tell them, you know, this boy that liked me when I was in school, and now, like if I see him, they'll be like, and you didn't. So I think
it's always your children.
It's always, right?
Listen
Always.
to these. Always your children who put you in your place real quick.
Yeah, but I couldn't have those kind of conversations with my mother.
I could have not done the same with my mother either. And I think this is where the revolution and the evolution of feminism, understanding that women, we have choices. And I have this saying that I just adopted. The same way men protect their pockets, women protect your womb. In case nobody has ever told you that before, men have been and will always be thought to protect their pockets, spend your money on the right woman, the correct type of woman. Woman, I am here to tell you, protect your womb.
It's true. It's true.
And I think that is as direct as I can get and can be, because count yourself blessed living a dynamic and you don't have a child out of that situation.
I, back then, 19, 20-year-old Akenna who got pregnant young in the church and that kind of thing. It was hard, it was devastating. But now, growing older, well, like, if you do the math, you could check my age.
She's not 40 yet. She's a few years
Now
from 40.
having a teenager getting ready to write CSEC, the next one just now she going into secondary school, I could get my life back. I'm like, that didn't, things kind of work out kind of good.
Yeah.
People
yeah.
always like, you want the next one? I'm like, I have my dog. That's the next one. Because
Well, I told you when we was off camera, maybe I'll have 2 cats.
right, why do I want to give up these years now that I have gotten back? You know? And people tell me, Akenna, you look so young and you look like you're 19. I'm like, so even better.
Yeah, why
even
going
better.
back there?
Why would I?
No,
But-
for me is how did you hide your physical scars? Makeup?
Well, it wasn't, thankfully, it wasn't, things never really got to that bad point where it left scars. There was one incident where it was really, really bad. And I was bleeding through my ear and that kind of thing. And I ended up having to go to the hospital. That was challenging because my stepdad was a police officer at the time and he had to take me and it was bad. But let me go
Akenna,
back.
and all this time, the church and your village is telling you, stay.
Yeah.
You all have a destiny.
Well, funny enough, I didn't share much with my intermediate family.
That happens the most with abuse.
Yeah.
Because, you know, not just women, but men, they paint the image that
Oh, yeah.
everything is A-okay.
Oh, yeah.
We are good.
Yes. Yes. And when I eventually, well, some of them kind of knew. But again, just like you said, with abuse, so many different things happen, you know, and it's only when you leave that kind of guilt, you're able to then cope with the guilt.
Yeah.
Because you realize that family members, sometimes they get fed up of you always going back.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time you tell them, they get involved, you went back. The second time,
they get involved again.
you go
But
back.
you went back.
So it then now makes them kind of frustrated with the whole thing. Like, why getting involved? People always say it all the time, stay out of my people's business. Because they feel like you're taking me for a joke.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people don't know that it takes a victim or survivor
11 times.
before.
Statistically
Yes,
proven.
statistically.
It takes a woman, an abused woman, to leave close to 11 times before she actually leaves that relationship. That has been tested and proven.
Yeah. This series on Netflix is a good example. I don't know if you ever saw it made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that shows a lot too about on the topic of like scars, the emotional scars. Because he never raised a hand to hit her. But look at how that was for them. But when my
And I'm
family.
not cutting you across. I think we have been conditioned to think that abuse is physical. So if this man is physically putting his hands on you, yes, he's abusing you. But how is he speaking to you? How is he not speaking to you? Let's not forget that part. You are existing in this environment where silence is so deafening that you are uncomfortable in your own settings.
Yeah, I remember, and I know what put an end to the physical abuse, but the verbal abuse didn't stop until maybe I left. And if I'm very, very honest, if I create space for it, it will still
It will
continue to
happen.
this day.
Yeah.
But eventually, when my family found out, it was one time it was getting kind of scary with a certain incident. I had locked myself in the house and he was trying to get in and thing. And my sister, I called my sister and I was like, because I didn't know who to tell. I know my mother, she'll fly off the handle. My brothers, they would behave worse. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to call my sister and see what, just tell her. So she ended up calling. I grew up with my stepdad and my mom. My stepdad is a quiet person. He don't say peep. But my father,
It's different.
my biological father, he's from Arima. He sells in the markets in Arima. He is like, he would shut things down today. And my sister ended up calling him. And he basically got involved to the point where the person then had to make a report on my dad because like my dad was, he put hands on him.
I think any father
Yeah.
having to run to their daughter's rescue for
Yeah.
a situation like this, especially with her husband.
Yeah. And to this day, none of my fathers have ever put their hands on me.
Yeah.
you know?
So then I'm at this point where I'm asking myself as women, and this is a very valid question, why do we subject ourselves to certain things? The bare minimum. The uncertainty, the instability, the confusion. What are we lacking, or what has been done to us that many of us think that, yeah, this is okay, this is part of the natural course that I'm supposed to take. I'll kiss a couple frogs and then one day I'll be my prince.
Yeah.
What is it? I think we need to find the answer to that.
Since I started, since I wrote my book and started doing all these talks, I do a lot of work with young women and girls. And I've found that the trend to be is that they don't know their value. I can't, I'm not a therapist, so I can't say that I know where that comes from. I don't even know where it really came from with me, if I be honest.
And if we being honest, and I'm in this conversation with you and we're making this a Me Too effect, I am thinking, like, I for myself, I don't know where that stemmed from.
I don't know, maybe somewhere along the line, just the whole system from being a young girl to a woman just made you like that. Little things as little girls should be seen and not heard.
And I will say publicly that because I've always been deemed loud, I have scrutinized myself so much that it interfered with my confidence. So I was constantly paying attention to myself, that I grew up shrinking myself so I will be accepted as a curly girl. But it messed with my confidence, and as an adult, I had to unlearn, then relearn particulars to put me where I currently am at.
Yeah, and abusers or abusive people or people with abusive tendencies. I don't really like to use the word abusers because I feel too, honestly, I don't know, God has done this on my heart over the couple of years. He's given me a level of compassion for even abusive people. I feel so much pity. I'm like, you don't even know.
Because something happened to them that caused them to be how they are.
Like, if you could just relax, life would be so much easier, you know? But doesn't mean I'm going backward.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think somewhere along the line, women or some women have lost the essence of their value, and they feel as though I have to accept less than. It could be a lot of people don't know how to be by themselves.
Oh, girl, loneliness is a serious. I have heard women ask me, "You can go any mall by yourself?" Yes. "You can play mass by yourself?" Yes. And these are things that I do. Now, what I will tell you also is that your environment is really a key contributing factor. Because when I left here and I went to New York, that environment forces you to be by yourself. You have to learn the city for yourself. You have to learn the subway for yourself. You get into classes, you say good morning, nobody answers. It is literally a dog-eat-dog world. So you become really settled within yourself. And I think it's us moving out of comfort zones.
Yes.
This is when we realize, but wait, I could do this by myself.
That's true.
However, we don't want to eliminate the fact that we still need men.
Yeah, I was going to say that in the end, or as we kind of close on this topic, because I don't want anybody listening to this conversation. And I always tell you women that too, like, you see a lot of this new generation, they're very like anti-men.
Yeah.
And I always tell people ask me, Akenna, you're still open? I'm like, yes, I'm still open to finding the right person. If I have something heavy to lift up, you feel I want to be lifting it up by myself?
Hey, FYI, I am in my soft girl era. I want you to message me every day. I want you to kiss me on the middle of my forehead. I want you to open
Make
doors.
my coffee on a morning.
I want you to ask me, how are you?
Yeah. Not too much good morning. Oh gosh, good morning.
No, you wrong. Hi, sweetheart. Hi, Ras. Hi. You know, I want you to be so in tune with my life that if I telling you a drama, you call any members of the drama by their first name. Oh, this Akenna we talking about. Showing me you are paying attention. Teach me about football. Teach me about basketball. Teach me about cricket. Yeah, and I don't understand how some women don't want to tap in.
But I think that can only happen when once you work on yourself. And I feel like sometimes we can go from one extreme to the next.
Yes.
So we're going from one extreme of having unhealthy relationships
right there.
to having no relationships at all.
No. Or we go from unhealthy relationships to just knowing this is what healthy should look like. Because I have done this for so long that I can tell you in bullet point forms, this is what I want my healthy to look like.
Yeah. So bring back healthy relationships, guys.
Please, women, and I don't think we should be doing it alone. Men, you could change diapers, you could make a bottle, you could these simple things.
What will keep that back is if we stay. And I always tell
Agree.
people, so let's use the topic of like people having affairs, right? If everybody say yes to somebody's husband, and there will be space for them to have those affairs, but if every married man come around you tell him, sir,
no.
leave me alone, go to your wife, and be your sister's keeper, and eventually they will realize, nah boy, people really not, people standing up to married men these days. So they would stop at some point. Well, maybe they might.
We don't know, we just say it, right?
Let's hope.
We just say it.
Let's hope. But I think we have to be that change that we want to see. If you want, if you're an advocate for, you want a healthy relationship for yourself,
You have to be
then
healthy.
you have to be a healthy partner.
Yeah.
You can't want a good man, but you don't do any work to be a good woman. Like we were talking about earlier with your place, but people, not yours, your place is very pristine.
Hello, and clean. It's good.
But people, you get up on a morning. I was telling a friend recently, one of the reasons I think why I'm still single is because I only know how to be a wife. And not everybody is deserving of that.
Is a beautiful food for thought.
Yeah.
So what
It's
I
sad
will,
though.
No, what I will add to that is all I know is to be the person to take care
I
of.
can't take her like that.
So you coming to take care of me, it makes me feel as though you are trying for me to be something that I'm not. But how do I know I am not that if I have never allowed that to happen for me? Here we setting up a round table. We are creating a round table with women discussions because this is a serious. And I love the fact that I can identify my issues within you identifying your issues.
Yeah.
I really, really get perturbed when somebody wants to try to take care of me because I feel like I have to prove to you that I can take care of you. Why are you trying to do this for me?
Yeah. But then you're saying that that's what you want to. Who interviewing who?
And
here?
I'm not.
You interviewing me, I interviewing you.
Yeah. What is happening here? No, but that is the dynamic of a village. That is the dynamic of community. That is the dynamic
And what
of
women need.
opening your mouth
Yeah.
and letting people in, and not for bacchanal and confusion, but for growth and for understanding, and for people understanding that it's not you alone, it's me too.
Yeah.
Because you got the autoimmune disease. Stress gave me anxiety. To the point where going outside and being in large crowds was something that I could have not done. And let's just call a spade a spade. That's exactly what stress did to me. I felt like if the entire world was looking at me and seeing Nadia, she's in shambles, she's crumbling, something is wrong with her, and everybody's pointing their fingers at me. As your friend said, you hid so much that God gave something to you that everybody's now paying attention to you. What is one message you want to tell the church?
No, but I've told them many times.
No, but tell them again. One message you want to tell the church.
I would always say that it is not a woman's responsibility to change a man.
Yeah. She can influence change.
Yeah, she can. A woman has the
ability to
influence change in her home on more than anybody else in the home. But it's not her responsibility to change that person. So this whole notion of encouraging, and I think too it's tough for leaders because they want to stay away from the topic of divorce.
Yes.
So nobody wants to be the person with that blood on their hands to tell somebody to leave. But I think it's important for us to sometimes tell people to leave. And I think this is why it's so important for Christian leaders or religious leaders on the whole to do some sort of psychological training and have that training, domestic violence awareness training, things like that. Have people in your church to handle things like that because might not know.
How to deal with it, because
Yeah.
you're dealing with it from a biblical perspective.
You might not even know how to identify. A woman mightn't even come and say that she's been abused, but the children might behave a certain way in Bible study, things like that. How do you identify these things in families and accept it without feeling offended
Or an
to really
outcast.
be able to exactly to really be able to help them? So I would say to the church, just have a little more open-mindedness when it comes to the topic of domestic violence and divorce and things like that, because a lot of families, a lot of women and men too,
What?
and men too,
Yep.
are simply just trying to save themselves by leaving, and they need support.
What is one message you want to tell that woman who's currently in a physically or emotionally or mentally or spiritually abusive relationship?
I would say to leave, but you can't always say that.
That's easier said than
Yeah, that's
done.
easier said than done. Leaving is the easiest thing to do, but the hardest thing to do and the most dangerous thing to do. So I would say come up with a plan, tell somebody, open your mouth, tell somebody, and pay attention to the way that your body is responding to that. I know we started off the conversation talking about vitiligo.
Yep. Autoimmune diseases that develop because of stress.
Because of stress, but it could be something else.
For me, it's anxiety.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could be something else. So pay attention to your body's response, come up with a plan, talk to somebody and get that support so that if you decide to leave, you could do it the right way. Because when I left with not really anything.
Yeah.
And I ended up writing a next book talking about that, about how that's a whole next thing in your life, starting over. Starting over from scratch, starting over with nothing. In Trinidad and Tobago, we don't have much support.
Yeah.
We have very limited resources, not much places where people can
Go. Shelters and stuff like that.
So having a plan and having that support is really, really important to not make the next half of your life more stressful.
And then there's a message you need to tell the 19-year-old Akenna. What would you tell her? I love how that one made you pause.
We made it. We made it. And you didn't need somebody else to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. I sat here today and I am now in the spirit of not doing this just in the month of International Women's Day, International Women's Month. And I've always, and I will continue to say it, your story maybe, could be, is the story of somebody else. And you can be a deterrent, a director, a change, an impact in somebody else's life. But you need to open your mouth. You need to let people in. You need to let people be a part of. This is how we grow. This is how we change. This is how we cry. This is how we laugh. This is how we self-examine ourselves. And we need more of this. We need safe places, true places, naked places, places where even if it takes you to the dark, there's a village of people who can bring you to a light. We on to something here because there's so many things we need to talk about as women. There are women who have never been to the GYN. There are women who are at the age who needs to have a mammogram done. There are women who have PCOS and think you're just fat and not knowing that there are different supplements that you can take that can regulate your weight.
And some people they just need therapy or just need somebody to
talk to.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even somebody to talk to. Sometimes I think just sitting in your room with the right person at the right time, it makes a difference. So, at this point,
You're going to get toast.
you get to put your hand in my bowl and pick a topic
Okay.
and open it up and read it for us.
What is an experience that has changed your life?
Girl, well, we got the answer to that already.
Having vitiligo, of course. But not only bad. Not only bad. So, like in the video on TikTok, some people just don't know. You know, we live in a society, Caribbean people, they just say whatever. Look how much weight you put on, this and that. And one person asked me, are you sure you want to come back to fly? With that, you know, people are talking about how passengers might react and that's... And it just took me down a real kind of, depressed kind of state. And all of that led towards me leaving as well. Fast forward to many years later, I was online just looking at stuff, and I ended up joining this vitiligo support group of people from all around the world who have vitiligo. And they ask you to unmute your mic and share, and I shared and stuff, and they didn't know people, and they didn't even know, some of them didn't even know where Trinidad was. And coming out of that, I got invited to speak in Minneapolis at the Global Vitiligo Conference to host a segment for women, with women all around the world, from the US, Bangladesh, things like that. And that taught me a lesson, In one room, I wasn't good enough because of this.
Yeah, and in
another room, I was being invited to lead a discussion with women to inspire them because of my situation and
that
what I had gone
others
through.
are experiencing.
And so vitiligo didn't only change my life. I don't want it to sound like, oh, doom and gloom. It opened doors for me as well.
And you look gorgeous.
So, thank you.
You will look gorgeous, like, hello.
Yeah, it opened doors for me as well, to be in rooms that I would have never imagined, and to meet amazing people too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You all heard it here. Like I said, your story is my story. My story is your story. But we need to open our mouths. I always say every day is a good day to give love. Every day is an even better day to receive love. Be a part of love. Be loved. And every day is an even better day to be human to another human. Love, light, the hub. This was really